5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, everybody. How the devil are we? Welcome along to the new show. He's back, so he must have enjoyed it last time. Steve, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Yourself?
Not so bad. You're another year older since we last spoke. So Happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you very much. I feel it, that's for sure. I'll say to my wife that it's getting to the point now where I feel rested maybe 4 or 5 days of the year total, and that's only going to get worse. So
yes, yeah. Well, I must say you know you look very well for 60. So
thank you.
Right, we're back with another quick news show. El Khannouss to fly the nest. That's what I did there. Crystal Palace Eagles flying. I'm wasted, really, aren't I?
Yep.
I'm really wasted. Rob Dorsett put out this morning, interestingly, not gone up yet on the Sky, even the Sky transfer rumours for the EFL. It's not gone up on that. But he did post about 6 hours ago, Crystal Palace closing in on a 32 million deal with Leicester for Bilal El Khannouss. Board agreement on terms, but Palace are not yet fully committed to the transfer and remain interested in Tyler Dibbling. Interesting. I personally, let's just talk about Bilal first before we go on to the deal. I personally don't think he is yet Premier League ready, if you like. I don't think, he did well for us, but let's be honest with you, we could have both put shoes on last season and looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
But as when it was linked with West Ham, one of my mates, West Ham fan, said, and I said, he was asking me about him, and I said that. I said, it might be, better to leave him a couple of seasons. And he said, yes, but if we buy him now, then we get him a lot cheaper than waiting for a couple of years when he's really good, and we're going to have to be paying 60, 70 million for him. And I can see his point.
Yeah, I think he's a quality player. The issue is, as you say, he's not really proved his point in the Premier League as of yet. Now, we got 5 goals and a couple of assists last year, which for a team that hadn't scored in 9 games isn't great. But in a squad that is fighting higher up the league with better quality players around him, he can contribute a lot more. But you're right. I think buying him for 30 odd million now makes sense because he has that ceiling to be a £60 million player for sure.
He does. And look, I think we knew when we bought him. I mean, he wouldn't be staying with us that long. The interesting thing is, we've all been moaning about this get-out clause that he had. We got relegated, he could leave for 20 odd million, and everybody was berating the club for doing that. But let's say, when he was back at signing that, if he'd have said, "Well, I'm not going to come unless you agree to that," he must have looked at Leicester and thought, yeah, you've just come up, but look at the way it's the squad. Your manager's walked out on you. You may go straight back down. So we either take him with that agreement or we don't buy him at all.
Well, yes, exactly. And I think it's important to point out that it's a relegation release clause, not just a normal release clause.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been activated if we'd stayed up. There wouldn't have been a release clause involved there. The issue, I guess, fans are a bit annoyed about is that, we've the expiry date of the release clause was last week, which means that now we can demand what we like.
Yes.
But the biggest issue is that with the release clause, you were paying a certain amount up front. So it's usually about 90% there or thereabouts.
Right, yeah.
Whereas now there's no release clause. Yes, theoretically, we can get a couple of £1 million more, but the terms would be more favourable for Crystal Palace. So, if it's 32 million, that's fantastic. That's more than I was expecting for Bilal, to be honest. But if you get 10 million now, 15 million next season, and then the rest is add-ons, you're sort of it's beneficial, but also it can be a negative as well. So it depends on how he performs.
But I guess that's also down to, and I'm dreading saying this, our negotiating skills when it comes to negotiating that deal. And look, we've already taken loans out based on us making sales. I mean, I think 32 million. I mean, there was this big worry that we would lose him for virtually what we paid for him, 20 odd million. But I think that expired on Friday, didn't it?
It did, and also if it is £32 million, it goes down as a profit as PSR rather than a balance or a negative, because it's over that threshold. Because there is a sell-on clause for Genk as well. So that's important. As much as selling a player for evens is okay, it's not great, but selling a player for a profit on the PSR books looks a lot better in the long term than it does.
We must be doing all right with PSR at the moment, wouldn't we? I mean, If you're the EFL though, and you're looking at Leicester and said, "Look, come on, you've taken the piss for a few years now. We need you to sort of show us that you're at least trying." I think you can look at this and go, "Well, look, we are, aren't we?"
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see that there is an effort for the club to bring down the costs of the club, but bear in mind that this is the second lot of parachute payments, because obviously we got promoted and relegated again. Yeah. We don't get the full parachute payment the first time. No, it's the next one along. So you get 3 years of parachute payments.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we went down again, we're in the second year of the parachute payments, not the first year. So
I just thought it started again, because doesn't what's left? So we go straight back up. I thought what was left, or I read somewhere, whatever was left goes to all the other clubs that didn't go up, and it's shared between them.
Correct, but it still is the case that we don't get the full amount again, because it's classed as a second. I don't know the full ins and outs of it. I just know that the loss is slightly more than it would have been if we'd got relegated the first time. And bear in mind, the club will need to balance the books, because the hole between advertisement and TV money from the Premier League to the Championship is quite large. So if you sold £30 million player for Hermansen and Didi and Cody already, and then you add this on top, 62 million, that might be enough to tip us into a profit come the end of the year. But then we haven't signed anyone as of yet. So that is the big catch if we end up signing players. But I've said this for a number of weeks now, is that we're clearly going to be a late window sort of shopping spree. And I can still see 4 or 5 players leaving before then that are on big money. Your Wout Fasses, your Samares, these players that clearly don't really want to be at the club, but you've got to find somebody that wants them first. So you might see loans more than anything, and then we might bring players in. But I wouldn't imagine there's going to be many, unfortunately. And next year will be the year where we can say, well, we made a profit. We did the right thing. We didn't sign anybody. With the fact that we've got 6 or 7 players leaving at the end of the year on big contracts for nothing, which isn't ideal, because really you want money for these players. The PSR could be a bit better, but it only time will tell. The next 11 days are going to be very interesting around Leicester City, that's for sure.
Without when is it anything other than that? I mean, with the situation we're in, with those players that have only got, like, say, let's use Harry Winks as the example. Mm-hmm. And I know he's a very much a Marmite sort of player, but let's say we could get 8 million, and I'm not saying we will. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
Brentford are supposed to be interested in him, along with, I think it's Valencia and somebody else. If they come in and go, we'll give you 5, do you take that? And I know it's a loss on what we paid for him, but we're getting what is now the highest paid player in the Championship off our books for a whole season. So we're saving another nearly £4 million on paying his wages.
Well, yes, that's exactly that. So £5 million would still go down as a profit under PSR because I think we bought him for £7 or £8 million, something like that. Or was it 12?
It was a package, wasn't it, or something? I'm not sure.
Yeah. But it would still go down as a profit because we're into the last year of his contract. So that would be good. Wage-wise, getting that off the wage bill would be significant because, I mean, £4 million in the grand scheme of football isn't a massive amount. But if you bear in mind that Winks is on that, Connor Cody was on that sort of money, and Ndidi was on that sort of money. Yeah. You know, you're cutting out 12 to 40, and then Jamie Vardy on top of it as well. You're looking at saving 18 or 19 million pounds a year on wages, and that is a significant amount of money.
Yes.
And then you've got the players that are slightly further down, like your Samare, who is on 60-odd grand a week, while Fat is on about 50. Get rid of them as well. Then yes, it's. The biggest problem, and people say in the chat, you'd rather get rid of them full time than on loan because you're going to lose them for free next year. But then if you don't replace them with any sort of quality, we're a worse squad now than we were 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And then all we've got is Oliver Skip and whoever else is next to him in the midfield, and it's that's the biggest hit, I guess. Spending 20-odd million pounds on Oliver Skip is not good business.
I don't get the hate for Skip, but then again, I'm not saying he's my favourite player. But I think I said this to you before. When you go on Transfer Market and you're looking at a player, it always comes up with a little section at the bottom. Who do you prefer? And it gives you the choice of the player you're looking at or another. And they've just thrown me up now. Bilal El Khannouss versus Oliver Skip. I have to say, with that, there's no comparison. If he goes, and in a way, I'm kind of won't be disappointed if he goes. But how do you think that will affect Leicester's season? Because we don't know who we're going to be, or if we're going to replace these players. We're relying on youngsters, and I think the Huddersfield game showed us that our squad depth is probably as good as we thought it was.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't. The players that you've got, like Will Alves, who's clearly not ready to step up to the Championship as of yet, by all accounts, especially not to replace somebody like El Khannouss, who is meant to be the creative spark in the midfield. So if he leaves, we are going to be worse off for sure, because he clearly cares to an extent. You see him like jeering up the crowd, and you need those sort of players in the squad. So yeah, we will be worse off on the pitch, but is the money better? Because I always say I'd rather have a club at the end of the day than a player, because the club is a lot more important to me than a single footballer.
Yeah.
And if we have to sell him to make sure we've got a club in 5 years' time, then whoever is at the club will sell them. I don't care. As much as I like the players, certain players.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And I think a lot of Leicester fans tend to forget that. We get so hyped up about players and getting in about players, but the grand scheme of things, the club is more important. But the squad will be worse off if we don't replace him and we just sell him for the money. So, yeah.
I think so.
Yes, for sure.
And I think, people, fans, look, we like to complain about anything, don't we? We were joking before we came live. And they moan about when we have to sell a player, but that used to be out the pattern that we used. Although we were, let's be honest with you, it wasn't, quite as bad as the days when we were at Filbert Street and what have you. We could at least, buy these good, better players, but we had to sell one a season to survive. And it was only, I think, the year when Tielemans wasn't sold that we kind of went away from that. So maybe, we've seen this year, maybe we're just dipping our toe back in that water again.
Yeah, and we have done for the last couple of years, with the selling of Maddison and Barnes, that Dewsbury Hall last year. I mean, yes, it's all related to PSR and selling to balance the books as such. And it clearly has happened again with Hermansen and Bilal. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the transfer window somebody comes in for Fasawu. I don't want him to go, but if the money's there and it's a right offer, the club will accept it. So yeah, that model is clearly the one that they need to stick to. I wouldn't like to sell all our best players, but if it means that we turn a profit come the end of the year and it turns our fortunes around, and if by some happenstance we get promoted and we can spend money next summer, great. But the issue there is that if you're losing your best players and not replacing them, the chances of going up get slimmer and slimmer because this league, I've said previously, this league is quite poor. Certain teams are quite poor, but you've still got Sheffield United who haven't started great, but have still a good squad. You've got Ipswich and Southampton, and even Middlesbrough and West Brom have got decent squads. So where are we in the grand scheme of things? I still think we have more quality than a lot of those. Yeah. But if keeping Fatu is the difference between winning the playoff final and losing the playoff final, I think we'd all prefer to keep Fatu, wouldn't we? So
yes, yeah. And I think we've got to look and probably making deals like we have done for Hermansen and Bilal will enable us to possibly keep Fatu. Yeah. We've got Spiritual in here, Palace fan. Hi, mate. How are you? You're most welcome to join in. Let me know, because this isn't a done deal yet, but the agreement apparently is in place. So, I think you're waiting on. Who is it from Tottenham they're waiting for?
Eze to go to Tottenham.
Eze, that's it. Wait for Eze to go to Tottenham. Daniel Levy's not particularly quick at doing deals. He holds out until the last minute. But you've also been linked with Tyler Dibley from Southampton. Who would you prefer? Let us know, Spiritual. That would be interesting to see which of those two players you'd sooner have. Bilal from Leicester or Dibley from... Well, I think is going to cost a lot more as well, isn't he?
He is, but the only positive about Dibbling is that he's English. So he's if he plays for Palace... Is he not? Even though he might be 19, but he's homegrown effectively before the age of 21. So it's the English tax, isn't it? Like it happened to Dewsbury Hall, being English. I don't think he was worth £40 million, but because he's English, he can fit in the squads better.
Look, I want to ask you about everybody's favourite John Rudkin.
Oh, here
we go. He takes a hell of a lot of stick, and I understand why. I don't think he deserves all the stick he gets. I mean, I always say if the ladies' away toilets broke, it'd be his fault, with some fans. So, but I agree that he has to take a lot of blame. Look, he got us $2 million for Cody when Cody wanted to go to Rangers on a free. Mm-hmm. He thought we were going to let him go. All right, the Hermansen deal, but his hand is probably being held, up his back to a degree with PSR. The fact that he managed to hold on to El Khannouss until that, I keep saying get out clause. I don't mean that, but you know what I mean.
Release clause, yeah.
Yeah, release clause. Thank you. I'm going to write that down. I can't remember. I looked at the brain block. Because he managed to hold on to him until that release clause had expired, and then we're now getting 32 million instead of 22 million. Surely he deserves a bit of credit for that.
So yes and no. So I am quite critical of John Rudkin, and it's well known that I'm very critical of John Rudkin. I'm not one of these fans that say he's never done anything positive for the club, because clearly he has. He has now, negotiated deals for Yuri Tillemans and James Maddison and these sort of players that have all come in and then left for a profit. Harry Maguire as well. So, he has done some positive, but my issue is the last 4 years there hasn't been many positives when it comes to Leicester City in regards to the role that he does. In regards to the release clause, I mean, a club needs to come on and pay the bid, really, don't they? It's all well and good saying, well, John did well to not let him go for the release clause, but if a club doesn't bid that amount of money, then he's not going to go, is he? That's the deal with the release clause, that you bid the exact release clause or a pound over it, like Arsenal did with Suarez a few years ago, and hope to trigger it. But yes, as I said earlier on, the biggest issue with this deal is that it will be more favourable for Palace on the terms. Mm-hmm. Yes, we might get more money, but it will be better for them, whereas a release clause would be better to be paid up front. So yes, he deserves some positive to get money for Cody when he wasn't expecting to get anything. But it seems to have happened once, and it seems to be happening again with Hermansen. You've got a goalkeeper that West Ham were going after in Brazil. They offered the release clause there and basically said, "Yeah, we're going to fly you over." He was in the airport by all accounts. He said goodbye to his teammates, and we were still negotiating with Leicester for Hermansen. So they were clearly using that goalkeeper as a smokescreen to get a better deal from Leicester. So Leicester sold Hermansen because there wasn't many other clubs interested. Yeah. And if it seems to be happening again with Bilal, where they've gone, well, we might go after this guy at Bruges or Dibbling, and Leicester have gone, no, wait, no, we're happy to deal with a decent offer. Like, just talk to us, And that's something that I'm not very pleased about. But again, nobody knows, do they? It's football. Nobody knows the ins and outs.
No,
I don't know what the emails that John Rudkin's having with whoever every day because we're not on the inside, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just think it's we put all these rumours out all the time because we read them and we want to keep our followers informed. But you don't know how many of those rumours are true, and we'll never know whether we have had a couple of sort of tried to take our hit the right amount and we've been able to get out of it. We'll never know. We'll never know. Let's presume he goes. Mm-hmm. Three parts of this question. First of all, do we need to replace him? Secondly, have we got the youngsters in there that will fill that role? And thirdly, do we then possibly need to go out and get somebody like Josh Brownhill or somebody like that in? Well, whilst I know he's old, he's obviously he's not a bad player.
Yeah. So to answer the first two pretty quickly, yes, we need to replace him. I don't think that the youth players like Will Alves already take the step up. I think if you bring them on second half and give them some minutes that way this season, then great. But for a team that is battling for a potential promotion, I don't think they're good enough to make the step up as of yet. And then, yeah, we do need to go out and sign a replacement, whether or not that be a free transfer, because against Preston at the weekend, we saw Daka come on at halftime and Ayew drop back into the cam position. I don't think Ayew can play that position to the level that we need. That's for sure. He's fine at keeping the ball up, but the amount of times we saw him at the weekend get the ball and do 3 or 4 turns and then it go nowhere when we were, on the attack, it's frustrating. So yes, we will need to sign a replacement for sure. As to who that will be, again, Josh Brownhill is a good player, but the terms would need to be right on the contract. You can't offer a 4-year contract for a player that wants 60.
No, I agree. I agree.
A 2-year deal with an offer, a potential 3rd year for 50 grand sounds better and is that's okay in my opinion. But a 4-year deal is just that continuation, isn't it? The cycle of offering older players with no selling value.
Oh, I agree. If he came in for me, I would only offer him a 2. Interestingly, he's not been signed by anybody yet, which makes you told you, well, is he asking too much, and is he regretting not signing the deal with Burnley? Apparently he was asking 60 grand a week. I don't know, but certainly it's like, hey, we got him on a 2-year deal, and that kind of doesn't look like a bad deal from us, but. The Reed we've got for 3 years. God help us.
Vestergaard as well. 3 years for Vestergaard.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, so we don't.
That was a leaving present, wasn't it?
Well, it's a horrible leaving present, to be honest. It's like he farted in a box and then handed it to you. But we need to get out of the cycle of giving players that have no resale value this sort of money, because he might come in and do a job, but he's never been Premier League quality. You've seen him for Burnley in the Premier League, and he wasn't good enough. And that was the age of sort of 26, 27, let alone 30 this time next year. 31, because he's 30 in December, so 31 this time.
30 in December, he is indeed. They're getting a good player, aren't they, if they do get him, Crystal Palace. Can you see him going straight into their team and playing? I mean, if they're going to lose Eze, or do you think, like you say, if he's not quite ready, they're going to have to sort of get just bed him in a bit more, I suppose.
So any signing needs a little bit of bedding in time. We've seen it ourselves with players that are coming that take a month or so to settle in and get to know the place and the players. I think he will pretty much go straight into their squad, because who else can play in that position that's a creative midfielder? And also they've got European football this year, so they need to sign players that will come in and play most games.
Yeah. Spiritual there said he shouldn't have El Khannouss. But Dibbling is a decent prospect too. It's not a bad choice to have, in fairness, is it? And he also says then, Jeremy Monger, where did you find him? Kid is amazing. Found him down the road, I believe, didn't we?
He was in Coventry. Yeah, he was a Coventry boy, apparently, and we nabbed him from there. So
yeah.
Great.
we can get it right sometimes, can't we? And it's taken a few years for the training facility to sort of throw these players out. Like you say, the window closes on the 1st of September.
Yeah.
It is only, is that 11 days or something away now?
Yeah, 11 days. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly, it's 7 o'clock on the 1st, so it's pretty much 11 days on the dot. It closes.
I mean, it is leaving it a bit tight. I mean, I can understand why, but then are we going to get ripped off because we're going in for players and say we offer them 5 million and they're going to turn around and go, you're desperate, give us 7.
Well, yeah, and we saw the benefits of getting your business done early under Enzo when we first went down. The players knew where they stood and if they were in the plans or not, and we could sign players pretty quickly, and it worked out really well. And you saw with Ipswich and Southampton and Leeds that they struggled because they didn't have all of their stuff sorted out. Farker came in the beginning of August, I believe. So, we're in that situation now. We're way behind other teams in regards to getting a new manager in and signing players that fit his system. So, I'm not, as much as it annoyed me on Saturday driving up to Preston and seeing that performance.
I kind of guessed from your social media post that you were not a happy chappy.
Yeah, and bear in mind that I went to Huddersfield in the Wednesday as well. So 7 hours round trip for Preston, 4 hours for Huddersfield, and we watched the first half of Sheffield Wednesday. It's not a surprise because we've still got players that might not want to be here, and the manager that is still implementing his style of play onto the players. If this performance was in December or January, I'd be a lot more worried. But it's a long season. The Championship, throws up all kinds of results. And losing to Preston, who, let's be honest, I predict them to go down, but they've got a decent squad still. So they could do anything this season. Not promotion. I'm not going to say that because they won't. But, it only takes...
The Preston family, I don't accept that.
Yeah, and most I speak to are pretty nice as well. I've got a soft spot for Preston. I've always liked Preston as a club.
Yeah.
But it's come when the window slams shut on the 1st of September, if we still got half the players that played on Saturday at the club, I'd be more worried. I don't think that'll be the case. I think we will sign players, whether or not they be loans or free transfers. And it will look different. And we're lucky that the first international break is coming up. So there's plenty of time. I say lucky. I'm not a big fan of international football, but it gives the manager time to work with the players that don't go away for international football, which is important. That. You need that at the club.
You do. And I've got a soft... I mean, I used to live, like I said before, in Burnley, which is just down the road from Preston. And I think, the Preston-Leicester game was always a family day. So having 4 kids, able to get them in for £1 each was brilliant. So I'm nothing against Preston. I don't think they'll probably do what they always do, which is start off really well, look good, and then drop off to average mid-table, as per. Last question though before we go. Look, if he's going, and if we get 32, as you said, you were surprised. I was. I wouldn't complain about that. He got taken off. You were at the game. He got taken off at half time. Mm-hmm. Was that deservedly so?
Yeah, he was pretty poor in the first half. I don't know if he'd thrown his toys out the pram because he knew we'd rejected a bid from Palace for him already. But the main issue with that is that if you've got one player throwing your toys out the pram and not playing well, fine, we can mitigate that and other players can come in. But if you've got 4 or 5 players doing it at the same time, it's not going to be good for the game itself. But he wasn't great. Like he had a few missed sloppy passes. He wasn't pressing as much as he should be doing compared to what he did the week before. And clearly his head's turned. And I think a lot of us forget that he did the same thing at Genk to get to Leicester last season. He forced a move away from Genk last year to be at Leicester. And we're not surprised. We've had a fair amount of players that have done it in the past with like Fatawu. Mahrez did it at one point. He was sat in an airport ready to go. You know,
And who can forget Fofana?
yeah,
He did exactly the same to come to us, didn't he?
exactly. And we often laud these players when they want to come to the club, but then we, chastise them when they do the same thing to join a different club. You can't have it either way, can you? So, clearly his head's turned and he wants to leave. And if that is the case, fine. If anybody wants to leave the club, they don't want to be here. Go. I'm not going to shed a tear for you, because I want players at the club that will fight for the team, that will die for the badge, and will show emotion on the pitch when things aren't going right, and not shy away like we've had in the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Right. I will let you go. I know you're going out. Like I say, because until these things are signed, sealed, delivered, to quote Stevie Wonder, and they're just rumours, we just do quick, short shows about it. I've got a brilliant topic for tomorrow if you're free. If we don't, nothing else happens, I've got a good backup subject for tomorrow. I'll save it for then. Have a really good night, mate. Thanks for coming on. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. Right, there we go. So thanks to Steve/Elm, however you know him, because he's obviously on Twitter under that. What do I think of Bobby DeCover-Reid? I try not to. And the Poco, is he back now? I thought he was still at our sister club, OH11. I think he's kind of there. I don't think he'll actually ever come to Leicester. I mean, why we bought him as Leicester and then, sent him straight out there and not got him back at all, I don't know. But he's had bad injuries, but I didn't know he was back. He's certainly not in the squad list, so he hasn't got a shirt number. So I don't think he was going to give him a game at all. Guys, we will be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock with the preview show. Brad will be talking to Sue, who is a Charlton Athletic fan. And then will be Diddy. Fair point. I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know, Jack. I could say he's not. I'm not sure. I really don't know on that. I don't know if he's even got a number, like I say. We'll be back at 7 tomorrow with the preview show. Stu, a Charlton Athletic fan, will be back at 9 after that tomorrow night with the prediction show. And if you are watching this live, thank you very much for joining in. I'm going to go and check that out now, Jack. Take care, guys. Please smash the likes, subscribe if you're new, and click that notification bell. And also, if you're watching on catch up, add your thoughts in below. Let us know what you think. Let us know your comments. Are you going to miss him? Or are you glad he's good or whatever? And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, thank you for lending me your ears. Cheers, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.